Good evening and welcome to Money Matters. I'm your host, Brian Kohute from HJ Wealth Management. My co-host, Paul Mitchell from First Cornerstone Bank. Special guest, Shaffer from Penn. We have a great show today, so thanks for joining us. I guess first off, Paul, good to see you as always. Lot going on about millennials. And we had me and you talking off air about different investment philosophies by different generations.
Well, or different even segments.
Right.
Whether it's by generation, or retirees, or millennials, or people in between, or women, men. So, what you're an investment advisor. What differences do you see in these different segments?
It's interesting. Most advisors have built their practice on baby boomers. There's a lot of them. They control a lot of money, and they've kind of changed the shape of investment management. They want to be more educated and participate in it. The World War II generation, they wanted it in under the mattress because their parents grew up in the Depression and they saw it lost. And it's interesting, the millennials seem a little more cautious. They want to hold a little more cash. They seem to be running longer. We're going to have a millennial on the show later here. Maybe he can tell us a little bit. So there's definitely different strategies and different temperaments, and you have to know your audience and your client. From the banking perspective, do you see differences in how they, their deposit relationships or their lending relationships, how they come at it? So.
Actually, I'm drawing kind of a blank there. I mean, we're a small community bank. I think a larger bank would have those kind of statistics. Certainly, when you open a bank account, one of the things besides your Social Security number is your date of birth. There's an awful lot of identification type stuff. So the data is there, big data. I'm sure the banks must be pulling that information on an anonymous basis, honoring privacy and all. But
what's going to be interesting, what a lot of online advice is coming on. There's a Betterment, Vanguard's in it, Schwab. Where I think the millennials wants to be engaged. They don't necessarily need to sit at a meeting with an advisor. They're comfortable with technology, so they can have their portfolio managed technology. And if they have a question, they can just bang out an email. So we'll see. It's all brand new, and we'll see. But it seems like there's going to be some kind of hybrid of that model. Where a lot of the technology and advice is driven online, but maybe there's still an advisor, to talk to the person.
Well, I was going to say, in terms of, your clients, did they give you all their money for investment? That all the money that they're going to invest, you're going to manage it, or do they give you 50% that you're going to manage, and they're going to do some of their own and do some stock picking? And
it's interesting. I mean, the majority of our clients, we manage most of their wealth. And it just could be our strength. We're planners, so we're heavy financial planners. So we build a plan. And then we wind up managing most of the assets. Or if we're not managing all the assets, we're coordinating the management of those other assets. If you have other advisors, we tend to be the quarterback. And I think that's only because we have the planning hat on. We're overseeing the plan, and all the assets have to kind of work together. I think if you're just a pure investment manager, you have more chance of not having all the client's money. You're going to get a piece of it, see how you do compared to the other person.
Sure.
And we have a different way we approach our business. But you're right. The generations, there's definitely a different risk tolerance. Baby boomers tend to be a little more aggressive. I guess they grew up in the 80s and 90s when there was a bull market, right, and technology. And then they also had two major bubbles, right? The technology bubble and the financial crisis, the real estate bubble. So
How about the difference between men and women? Is there any differences there, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, men are definitely more aggressive. They're willing to risk more. Women are much more cautious. And there's been studies, not this isn't me saying, but studies have saying women tend to be better investors. They tend to be less emotional about how they invest and more pragmatic about the goals, right? And that fits into what we do. We're goals-based planners. So women don't necessarily get married to, well, I own Apple or Tesla or whatever, and I'm never going to sell it, or it went down, I'm going to sell it. So they seem to be a little more patient. And I guess at the end of the day, that's what investing is really about, a lot of patience, right? Because it's going to be a lot of ups and downs along the way, right? And if you can pick some tops and bottoms, that'd be awesome. But I don't know how to do that. So.
Well, how long do you think we've got to go before we see another recession to some degree, do you think?
I mean, I feel pretty good about the U.S. economy. I mean, we'll get your take on the banking side of it, but we did come off two bubbles, right? So if you look at historic returns the last 15 years, they haven't been all that glowing. I mean, there's two major crashes in there, right? So the average returns have not been phenomenal. We've had a really good run here, since '09, but it came off a pretty low level, right? So I still feel good about it. I mean, I think companies are sitting on a ton of cash. They're making money, and they got a lot, some good things: low interest rates, low inflation. Some pretty good things. So.
But not much expansion in the economy overall. I mean,
Not
all
much
this money has been generated by everybody cutting expenses, it seems.
Yeah, a lot of expenses. And what they're finding is, we talked about the prices of energy dropping a lot. And again, if I didn't say it, obviously this shows tapes, so anything we say, don't react off of it. Talk to your advisor. But it seems like a lot of people are saving. There hasn't been a lot of price increases, right? Wages have not gone up a lot,
right.
And any cost reductions that people have gotten has gone into the bank because people got burnt from their financial crisis. They were highly leveraged, didn't have a lot of breathing room if things didn't work out, and I think they're doing the opposite now. So I think that's kind of stalled the economy a little bit, and companies are sitting on cash, I guess arguably not knowing what to do with it, right? We thought banks, right, are sitting on a lot of cash, would love to lend it all out, but not necessarily see all the demand there. So.
Well, one thing I think there has been an uptick in is the mergers and acquisitions.
Yep.
Companies have all this cash, and they're not investing it internally for their own growth.
Right.
Buy another company. They got the cash to do that. You see some of that?
Seeing a lot of that. Share buybacks been huge, right? What do I do with my cash? Give it back to the shareholder. Don't know what to do with it. Share buybacks and just go buy another company, right? Which is attractive, right? So, and I think to me, some valuations. There's always crazy valuations. You see people are willing to pay ridiculous prices for things, but I think on the whole, it hasn't been crazy. Hasn't been like the late '90s where anything got a big valuation. I think it's been a little more cautious, with where the money's going. So that was a long-winded answer. Say, I still think this bull market has legs. Doesn't mean it's a straight line. It never is, right? There's going to be a correction and a pause. I wish I knew when it was, and if tell me. But I'll be sure. And I'm sure you're seeing the same thing on the banking side, right? It's probably been a pretty good environment, but interest rates are really low, so it's a challenge for you guys. Paul, do you have time for a question? We got a question from a viewer, Jerry Caller from Norristown. From a banker's perspective, what businesses are growing?
Okay, well, it's a good question. Sir, the safest way to say it would be healthcare. I think that's number one. There's great diversity, different aspects of healthcare, but demographically, baby boomers filling
getting older, aren't they?
Yeah, they have more need for healthcare and living longer. Science, drugs, you name it. So that's number one. Again, look at the individual companies, not just anything in its healthcare. Number two, I would say, would be services. And I think as a good barometer, you look at a company like IBM, which traditionally we just made machines, computers. They're shifting away from that. They have been for years, shifting more away from that into various kinds of services, software services on the cloud, et cetera. And the third one I like, people talk about manufacturing in the U.S. being dead. Well, there's lots of niche manufacturers, value-added manufacturers. They don't just churn out the same thing that for $2 or something like that. But where there's real value-added, maybe not a huge market for that individual product, huge being like, let's say, multi-billion, but maybe hundreds of millions. And as a fact, our guest it's a good segue because there's a new market that didn't exist before.
Right.
And we'll hear about that in a few minutes.
Well, it's great to hear businesses are growing, right?
I think so, yeah.
Excellent. So great answer. If you have a question, here's how you send your question into Money Matters TV.
You can have your questions answered on Money Matters. Please go to our website, money-matterstv.com. On our homepage, click on the banner on the right that says, Send us your questions. While you're on our website, you can find information about our host and guests, as well as show notes and links about this show and past shows. Money Matters is also available as a podcast on iTunes and Stitcher, so you can listen to Money Matters while you're on the go. That website address, again, is money, MONEY, -matters, MATTERS, TV.com.
Welcome back. Let me introduce our special guest, Ross Shaffer from Penn by Air. We got a really cool segment of this show, drones. So I guess for the viewers who don't even know what drones are, could you explain a little bit of what a drone is?
As I mentioned earlier, it's a whole new market that didn't exist a few years ago. So
it is.
That's the strength of the American economy.
And we have one on the table here, so Ross, have at it.
Yep. So drones, we're actually trying to take the word back. Some people might think that it means a weaponized, autonomous flying object, used in warfare, something like that. a lot of people also associate them with these, and these are actually multi-rotors, but as I said, we're trying to take that drone word back. Multi-rotor is signified because this one here has 4 rotors on it. It helps it stay steady and upright, because our main concern with these and our payload is a camera. So we'll see here with this one, the camera is extremely stabilized. It can go all over, up and down, and we can control that. And we have a lot of uses for them which are new and cool, including TV production or real estate sales, or really anything where you just want an aerial view of something where we don't use a helicopter or a plane as in past years.
And you had a cool video. Can you explain a little bit what the viewers are going to see on that video?
Yep. So that video was a lot of fun to shoot. That was for the American Red Cross, and we were following someone. His name is Brian Boyle, who had a terrible crash, and he recovered, and the American Red Cross helped him with his blood transfusions, and he began doing triathlons, and he wanted to give back to the American Red Cross and showcase himself, what he was able to be capable of after coming back from this terrible crash. So he's out there in the water swimming. He's practicing for a swim, and there'd be no real way to film him out there. I mean, we could be on a boat and hold a camera or something like that, but other than that, there's no real way to get a good overhead view of him. So we took our drones, we put them over him, and we flew with his swimming. And he's fast. He's fast, so it was fun. And then we transitioned to bicycle riding and running, and it was a lot of fun to be able to be there and follow him with our drone. He was
That's
great
cool.
to work with.
Really cool.
How reliable are they? I mean, I'm just always thinking about the crashing or landing on that poor guy, that's swimming or causing some kind of mayhem.
Right, I mean, anything unfortunately is possible. With our larger one, we do have 6 rotors, so we can have one rotor go out and we'll still be in flight. We've never had anything like that happen, but it is possible. They do now make what's called a drop safe for them, so we can actually have a parachute on it. It's filled with CO2. If the drone feels like it's going down or if it loses power, the parachute will come and explode and catch it and land safely.
That's terrific.
So obviously it's more than just a hobby. How are you guys using drones? Obviously, you filmed the triathlon. How else are you using it out there in industry?
Right. So our biggest industry is real estate. You'll have a real estate agent who wants to showcase a large property off multiple acres, and you can't do that from the ground. I mean, if you take a single snapshot, you're not going to be able to see all the acreage we have to offer the sale. So we'll get a drone out there and we'll show the property lines and everything. So that's our #1 market right now. And a lot more real estate agents are using us for that type of service. Another service that we spoke about, TV production. You no longer have to get a jib out on location. You don't have to get a dolly. You don't have to get a helicopter. You can get out there with a drone. As I said, the camera is extremely stabilized. I can take a drone and I can fly it left and right like this with the controller. The camera the entire time is staying steady, and you wouldn't know that the drone is moving all over to the end viewer. Even in winds, it fights winds. I consider myself a geek, so I try to combine all the latest technologies, and I think we were one of the first to start offering. We got a 3D printer which prints plastic, and we can fly around a house to get at height, and we can take about 400 to 500 pictures of this house, and then we can model that house in 3D and print it out. And it's just a cool gift, or even for a developer, it's cool to have just to showcase your real estate or whatever it may be.
So the real estate agents, they call you and say, hey, I need, how do you find people that have drones and have the pilots and can actually do the work? You know?
Right, so we did a lot of SEO online just to get on Google on that first page. You know, when you type Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Baltimore, Delaware, Virginia, drone for hire, whatever it may be, we spent a lot of time just trying to get on that first page. So now we don't have to run ads anymore with Google, which we used to. People are finding us. Word of mouth is great. Real estate agents, they tell their friends, and we get calls based on that. And it really is, you know, the only way for an agent sometimes to show off a larger house. It started off with large houses, maybe farms, and now sometimes we get condos, just smaller real estate properties. Maybe they want to see it, maybe it's near a beach or some water. They want to show the view from the property. So it's a really cool way to do so.
So how'd you get in the business?
Right. So I'm a systems administrator with computers. So I was always interested in technology, and I've been an RC hobbyist, radio control hobbyist for years. So I've been flying remote control helicopters, driving remote control cars for about 10 years now. And it really helps. You get the motion of the sticks down video games too. So I just had a lot of fun with it as a hobbyist. And my partner, Sky DeMoya, she was in TV production. So she came from National Geographic Television, and we decided we could merge the camera with flying in the air. So now our cameras have wings, and we can capture shots that normal cameras can't.
So this is a new industry, really.
Right.
How new is it?
I mean, drones in the typical sense with rotors or multi-rotors, they've been out for years. I mean, people have been flying them since the 70s. And you know, maybe in the past they were powered by some form of gas. Now they're all electric, and we have batteries in them. But it's been a big hobby for years.
Now you had mentioned this technology is superior to anything else out there. Well, how come?
So this one, this specific model here, it's called the DJI Inspire, and this is a little bit bigger. We can see it has the wings here. They act as landing gear, but when I turn it on and lift off, the wings will actually go up, and you'll see that the camera can rotate 360. So this landing gear won't be in the way as it might be with a smaller one. The landing gear is really always in the way here. Another thing is we can fly indoors. We can map out a house. Again, it's very stable. So if you're going through a house, it looks like it's on a dolly. There is a small camera facing downward on this particular drone, which shoots sound waves into the ground, maps out the ground, and we can fly indoors stably. It knows where it should be, and if there's AC on or something with older ones, it would have been blown away from even AC. But this, it knows where to stay, and we're not going to go crashing into your walls or whatever it may be. Another cool thing that's come into play is with most of the more expensive ones is they have a GPS unit in the actual unit itself. And when we're flying outside, the GPS unit will help it stay stable. It knows what coordinates it should be at. So if there's wind up to 25 miles an hour for this one, it'll stay in the same spot and it won't move. I can put the controller down, it'll still stay there. And then we have a video downlink at the base, and you know, we can show a real estate agent. We can say, "Does this look good? Okay, snap the picture." And all of these technologies have really come together in these types of newer models.
You mentioned real estate a lot. How about some other industries? Industries that maybe you're working with now, and maybe a few others in the next year or two or three.
Right. So another cool one. Our clients are very. They're very open to suggestions with what drones could be. This is new technology. So a cool use is for a roofer. We've had roofers ask us, can you fly next to this roof? Maybe it's a steeple we've done before. They're looking for a leak, and they can't get on the roof. It's not easy to get up on a roof like that. So we'll actually get up there and get to height. We'll stand next to the roofer, and we'll have him look, and he'll say, go left, go right. And we found leaks that way, and the roofer doesn't need to go up on the roof, and and inspect it that way.
So you can really zoom in that much?
We can just get closer. These models, they don't have zoom lenses on them, but we would just physically fly a little bit closer. And they do capture up to 4K resolution, which allows us to pull a big still image from each individual frame.
So how close would you get to a steeple? A yard?
Yeah, we've gotten that close. We've gotten even closer than that.
Okay.
It depends on the wind that day. As I said, this does hold itself in the air, but we've gotten maybe 2 feet away. So yeah.
So you know, there was a lot of talk about the regulation behind these, and I don't know where they came out. Do you now require a pilot's license?
So one of our pilots actually does have his FAA license. We have our drones registered with the FAA right now. They're aircraft registered and they have tail numbers. But the 333 exemption, which allows us to fly for profit as a business, that's currently ongoing, and we're applying for that.
Okay. So do you actually have to file a flight plan if you're
Not yet.
Okay,
Yeah.
so.
We do stay within regulation right now, and that's we don't go above 400 feet. 400 feet is a pretty good height, though. I mean, we can see maybe a couple hundred acres off of one photo from 400 feet. The reason that is because planes, they can go as low as 500 feet. So that gives us a little bit of buffer in between. Another one is we do not fly within 5 miles of any airport. So we don't want to interfere with large aircraft, and it's illegal. So we stay away from that. And there are a few more regulations, like we don't fly at night, and just things to keep us safe and keep the airspace safe.
You know, Amazon's making a big splash in this marketplace about delivering by drones. You think it's going to happen? And
I hope it does happen. I mean, it's really cool to think about. You order a package and then it's airdropped to you, and they've demoed it. The technology is there. Even with this drone, we can type on a map. We can select up to 100 waypoints. We can press go. It'll lift off. It'll go through the flight plan. We can have it do a circle. And that could be, in Amazon's case, people's houses. And a string could drop down and drop a package down, and it's not too far off, and it just has to be regulated by the FAA, and we welcome that change.
Who makes these?
This specific company is made by DJI, and they're based out of China, and they're a large manufacturer right now, a large player. One of the major drones right now, you might see this one around. This is the Phantom, and the price point's a little bit cheaper. It's a little bit above $1,000. And it'll get you up in the air with a camera, and you could use your phone as the downlink, and it's just a cool way to get into the hobby.
cool. Yeah, I know you had mentioned farming as a potential. How do you see it being used? I mean, obviously you're used to the crop dusters and the planes. How would drones replace that technology?
Yep. So I recently heard that drones were just okayed to actually crop dust. So that would save the environment a little bit. We're just using batteries. We're not using a large Cessna or a helicopter, and so yeah, they can be used for crop dusting. Or another cool way is we could really map out, and we've done this. We can map out a person's farm, and we can see where hot spots are, how the crops are doing. We can see, if this area needs a little bit more water, nutrients, whatever it may be. Another cool use, a major farming industry use is. Which is being developed right now. They're putting infrared lights on drones themselves, and they'll be able to fly through at night, and that'll allow for the crops to get a little more sunlight. So there are a lot of, the farming industry is huge, and we welcome drones.
The drones would create an artificial sunlight?
Yes.
My goodness.
Yes.
Is there a rule on how big a drone can be?
So right now, there's the regulation is still being discussed, and that's being changed. Right now, I think it's about 55 pounds and lower is still considered a small drone. It's less than a small aircraft.
Since we're in the business, financial fields and stuff, would you have any idea how big the industry is right now in terms of, let's say, revenues, dollars, things like that?
I wouldn't be able to give you an exact amount. It is a new industry, and it is up and coming, but it is getting larger constantly, and we see that, last Christmas for the holiday, people were getting drones. Little kids were getting drones under their Christmas tree. So it is always growing.
Yeah, you see them buzzing around the neighborhood, right?
Exactly, right.
I guess, if you had to project 5 years from today, what do you think is going to happen with this industry, and more specifically with you guys, your company? What do you hope happens?
I mean, it's only getting larger. I hope that we're able to work with the FAA and get relaxed regulation. I like where it's heading right now with the rules that are currently in place. But I mean, it could be a huge industry. And we started off in Baltimore, and then we expanded to Hawaii. We'll get some great aerial views, a lot of real estate sales out there. And then we went over to Pennsylvania, and now Delaware. So we're constantly growing. We've got pilots all over.
How many employees do you have, or people that work with you, whether employees or contractors or whatever?
Right now, we've got 5 employees.
From here to Hawaii.
Yep, exactly.
So what kind of training? Hey, you're trying to hire a pilot.
Right.
What do you look for on the resume?
Right. So we do actually offer training, which is pretty cool. There aren't many ways to learn how to do this yet. It's not completely regulated. So we'll take them through the training process, make sure they understand the laws and not only the FAA mandated laws, but also safety. We don't want someone flying directly on top of a huge event and something can go bad. These do run on, the ones currently that we have, they do run on frequencies that are available to us. So that's the same frequency that Wi-Fi and Bluetooth run on. So we always make sure that Wi-Fi and Bluetooth are off, and because we don't want them to interfere and maybe hijack the signal for whatever reason. So yeah, we'll take them through. We've got simulators. A lot of simulators are out there. You can go on home, play with your PlayStation controller and see it on your computer, and it's a great representation. And we start off with smaller ones, smaller quadcopters, and we then grow to the larger ones. You get your crashes done on the smaller ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of crashes, I'm sure there's no statistics yet since this is kind of new. How often would you expect them to crash? I mean, it's mostly probably pilot error,
Right.
I would assume.
We've been lucky, and we have never had a crash. But it is obviously possible. Now, if it's pilot error, then I couldn't give you any statistics on that, but it does happen, and you'll see that happen more when more consumers get their hands on them.
Yeah. We're just wrapping up here. Anything else you want to share with the viewers about drones?
No, I'm just excited to be here and follow through on this great technology. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, sounds like a great business that you guys have going, and exciting, I bet, right?
Yep,
So,
very fun.
You make a living having fun.
Exactly.
Nothing's better.
If you enjoy every day of work, it's not work, right? So,
That's true.
Well, it's been exciting. We wish you the best of luck, and
Thanks, Ross.
Thank you so much.
please join us next week. Our special guest is Joe Dunn. He's an author and a philanthropist, and as always, please join us because your money matters. Thank you.